We get breaking news as the Vancouver Canucks make a massive trade, sending J.T. Miller to the New York Rangers for a roster player, a first-round pick, and a prospect. We're going to break all this down and more later on this episode. Before we get into that, if you're a part of the 71% that's not subscribed yet and you're enjoying this daily Canucks content, make sure to go down and hit that subscribe button. We'll be all season long giving you updates from around the team. But that, we got to hop straight into this trade today, which is a massive one, where we see from Puckpedia the New York Rangers acquire J.T. Miller and his full $8 million cap hit. There is no money retained on this at all. Erik, Brannstrom, and Dorrington. The Vancouver Canucks get Filip Chytil, Mancini, and a first-round pick in 2025, top 13 protected. Now with this, the net cap income is 3.6. This is a deal that shocked the NHL world. Yes, we've seen reports coming out from the Vancouver Canucks themselves saying they were shopping J.T. Miller and Petey. We see the first domino fall, and J.T. is headed to New York. Now, looking at some of these players, a lot of fans might not know who Chytil is or anyone else in this deal, so I'm going to break down exactly who the Canucks are getting and how it helps them. Now, first, looking at Chytil. Chytil is 25 years old, a 21st overall pick in 2017. Chytil has been with the New York organization for quite some time. This year in 41 games, 11 goals, 9 assists for 20 points. His best season coming in 22-23 with 45 points, 22 goals, 23 assists. We can see he played 20 games in the playoffs in just his third year, putting up 9 points. Chytil is a guy that hasn't been able to flourish in New York. We've seen quite a few young guys within the New York system not be able to hit their potential. We've seen players traded and really start to flourish once they jumped to a new team. With Chytil, he is signed for 2 more years after this one. His contract is $4.4 million on a 4-year deal. He is a UFA at the end of this at age 27. The biggest thing with Chytil, he can play center. This year, he is averaging 45.7 on the faceoff dot, which is a career high. You can see he's played center through his entire career for the New York Rangers. He has dealt with injuries, as I said, but getting this piece back, even if the Canucks do not keep Chytil, as we've seen Jim go out to say himself, if a trade does happen and we do acquire players, we may flip them in the future. But I do expect Chytil to join this team, to hop straight onto the second line as the Canucks second line center until they figure out if he is the replacement on the second line for the future or if they're going to make more moves. Now going into the next one, which is Victor Mancini. Mancini's 22 years old, a former 5th round pick. Mancini did get his start with the Rangers this year in 15 games, 1 goal, 4 assists for 5 points. He is a left-handed defenseman, 6'3", 230 pounds, a right-handed defenseman. My bad on that. But looking at Mancini, he does have 1 more year after this year at under $900K. This almost feels, in my opinion, like a swap with Erik Brannstrom, but you get a right-handed defenseman that is bigger, can play in the NHL right now, as we've seen he got action, and he is also physical. Looking at Mancini in 15 games with the Rangers, he did put up 20 blocks, 14 hits, almost a hit per game, and he was averaging more than a block per game, playing limited minutes with only 15 minutes time on ice. This is someone that I think can jump straight into this Canucks line, which I will touch on shortly, and make an impact on the third pairing if they want to move on from Desharnais or forward. Get younger, get more mobile with someone with some potential. Now looking at this is from Elite Prospects. Going in on Mancini. Mancini played the left side, second pairing. His north-south speed was decent for his size. He was effective when he kept things simple and made quick, short-range plays to stay out of trouble. Mancini's ability to read the game of the puck was something that stood out. He also made excellent reads and played a very alert game defensively. This is exactly what the Canucks are looking for. A shutdown right-handed defenseman that can join this team that is young and isn't taking up a lot of cap space. Joining him, of course, is Chytil, who seems like the main piece of this. As I said, you're getting a center, a former 20-goal center that can join this team, make an impact immediately, or be flipped ahead of trade deadline or during the offseason if the Canucks do move on, as they do have him for 2 more years. And this is a contract that is very tradable, with the cap raising almost $9 million going into the next season. Now, looking at the final piece, before we get into what the Canucks really moved on from, looking at the final piece was a 2025 first round pick that is a top 13 protected pick. So it does seem like the Rangers want to cover their butts on if they do miss the playoffs, but it does seem like the Rangers will end up making the playoffs. If they make a deep run, this pick will not be very good for the Canucks. But looking at another future pick that the Canucks can add, use in a trade or use a draft if they want to, this adds so much possibility for the team. Now, of course, losing on J.T. Miller is the biggest blow on this, and the Rangers are getting a hell of a player. A 100-point player that's going to play his heart out each game. But looking at this Canucks roster, and we know the feud that has happened with Elias Pettersson, with J.T. Miller, it was just a matter of time before a trade ended up happening. Now, looking at this Canucks team, this is where I think Chytil is going to slide straight in J.T. Miller's spot. I would suspect Pettersson to join up on that top line. They're going to have to figure things out because the lines are going to shake up quite a bit. Once again, on that fourth pairing, this is where Mancini would really fit in perfectly. I know Noah Juleson has been a fan favorite at times, and sometimes fans really don't want him in the lineup. But looking at this, I think Mancini can jump straight in, play with someone like Forbort, or hop in with Desharnais if he wants to play his offside. This adds so much possibility to this Canucks team. We know the Canucks management are not satisfied with how the season has been going, how things have been handled between their star players in their locker room. This is what stemmed to this. And the crazy thing is, more might be happening. Pettersson is a name that's been actively pursued by Buffalo, actively pursued by the Columbus Blue Jackets. We might see a total shakeup of this Canucks roster. Do I want to see any more happen? Not with the star players. Do I hope they move on from a couple players, get fresh legs in this lineup, try to revive the season as we see them in a playoff spot? The Calgary Flames went out and made moves to make their season even easier, so the Canucks are really battling with a team that's looking to make it. Now, looking at this, the Canucks do have a lot of room. $5.6 million in cap space at deadline. The projected cap space and the current cap space is $3 million. But looking at this, the Canucks do actually make a lot of more room. After this trade, with a fully healthy roster, the Canucks are in line to have about $7.5 million in cap space. Deadline cap space will be a bit above 13.5. This gives more possibilities if management feels that this team can make an extra push. If this really motivates the team to get going, maybe everything that's happened in the locker room finally clears up. Maybe nothing does. This gives the Canucks so much to work with. We acquire new players, a new right-handed defenseman, and a first-round pick. Seeing J.T. Miller go is going to hurt. I'm going to hate playing against him because he is a hard player to play against, and he's been such a big part of this Canucks team. But overall, what's your guys' thoughts on this trade? I know there's a lot of fans of J.T. Miller, and I am one of them. I love J.T. Miller once again. But what's your thoughts on the Canucks management finally looking and saying, hey, we're not good with being mediocre. We want to be better. We're making changes. What's your thoughts on this trade? Do you think the Canucks got enough back? I think the biggest thing is they did not have to retain. They got some pieces that they can flip or use on this team. Let me know down in the comments. While you're down there, leave a like, subscribe, share this with your friends, and we'll be back with another episode. This is a big Friday night trade, but keep your eye out for even more happening with this Canucks team. But I've been your host, Mark Pye, and take care.